Well, this is the train at the end of the world, and it's a obvious tourist hub for the big buses. My goal is to take this in to the park and then go for a hike and come back with a bus, on a regular bus. It's interesting to watch these fellows work on this little patch job they're doing, which they'll probably take a full half day to work on it and then another half day to paint it. They're gonna get it the same color as the other. And you reflect on the fact that last summer my entire roof had all of the old roof removed. That's 2 layers plus the metal, and then had the whole new roof put on totally, all of that within.
En unos momentos más vamos. So this bridge was rebuilt in 1993, but to keep the same road that the convicts de los presos solía detenerse al stop Macarena Station, the place.
This is a mid-stop. I'll climb up to, I guess. One marvels at the arrogant, young, ignorant stupidity of making stairways that are like 12 inches height. This is a little bit of Walt Disney, but it attempts to give some insight of the Yamanas. Of course, all this has been reworked by man, and I don't know whether this would have been denuded of trees or totally forested. Those theoretically are the typical huts of the Yamana.
Eran empujadas por los propios presos para volverlas a las vigas. Esta locomotora con la que viajamos hoy guarda sus mismas características, salvo en el combustible, que es líquido para ir.
En estos momentos estamos atravesando un sector denominado Cementerio de Árboles. Now we are going through an area, it's called Tree.
2 trains departed 6 days a week. The first, the second string of armed guards had practically no contact with the convicts. But at the midday meal break, they counted them and escorted them to the place where they would eat.
As you're looking up here, you can see that there are stumps.
At the end of the day,
some are high when they were cut off in the winter. Some may be low for the summer. But all this is second growth.
700 pieces back to the city. Of these,
Estamos ingresando a un túnel de vegetación que nos da a nice time in Ushuaia. Muchas gracias a todos. Thank you very much.
Used to run on wood, now runs on diesel, my nose, correct? Needless to say, this sophisticated system in all new cars is certainly an upgrade for tourists, a la the Disneyland. There's the train, and so the map would suggest, and my friends up above from ahead of me from England, I think, seem to confirm that this is the route I want to take to the falls, but I really wanted to show this just to prove that there can be at least the hint of sun in this area. Here's the thing you want to avoid when you're hiking, and that's these bogs. This one's obvious, some of them really aren't till you're in them. I've pulled off to the side here to go to the bathroom and also avoid the loud tourists that are behind me, so that when I continue walking it might even be quiet. This is one of the forms of toadstools of some sort. A looking mushroom, at least normal to me. Looks like the first one I took, only these are quite regular in dimension, but the coloring and some of the patterns are the same, I think. There's another cluster of those first kind. Take on some interesting shapes. And it's a little bit brighter color on this one. And this one is doing something novel. I've seen a couple of them do this, and that's inverting itself for some reason. So this is the road that I'm on. It's the same road we just came past on the little train. This is the train. It almost looks like a toy train. Instead of the nails, I forget what they're called now. The big nails here is something that looks like it was probably screwed in. Buen dia. My guess is that all the vegetation we see in this picture, except for the dark green on that mountain and the grass on that mountain or whatever it is probably second growth, or even third for that matter. Sounds like a train coming. I think this may be a second route, or at least an alternate train to take back and load up. It may reflect the people who aren't going back by train but are going back on their cruise buses. Now here are burrows. This one's fairly good size. Another one there, probably alternate escape route. A pathway. Another several up there. I wonder what it's for. I'm not aware of what they have here. Foxes, maybe. There's so many mushrooms, you start looking at them as art forms now. Here's another micro plant. These have little berries, tiny little berries. You can see by the blade of grass, the tip of the small blade of grass. It looks like in that leaf to the right there may be even some smaller things. If that's the case, they must be the size of pinheads, literally. This flower appears a little bit different than what I've seen before because it has the tinge of maroon or violet at the ends of its petals. It has a great many petals. I think these may be the same white flowers I saw at the glacier outside of Ushuaia, but we're at a considerably lower elevation now, by 1,000 feet, I would guess. Now this one's significantly got some violet, but just to its right is kindred, and it doesn't. It's pure white. This looks like a dandelion. You can see from the leaves there that they seem similar to my memory at least. And dropping down, you see how that whitish, opaque color of the stems looks similar. But it's all by itself. Turbo, I believe, means peat bog. That's that area back in behind it. Notice that it's crested and it's still a bog. This is the Rio Pipo, P-I-P-O, presumably where is the water that comes over the falls. And down to the end of this road and then a hike to the falls. So far today it's a lovely day. Sun shining at the moment. And perhaps a variation on the theme, in other words, flower I've seen before. This looks a little bit different, but yet similar to the flowers I've seen in the States. This is all on one stalk. Cascada Rio Pipo. Dificultad fácil. Love that. Duration 10 minutes. Love that. Ida. One way. It's just a little bit of a different flower and a little bit of a bog on the trail to the way to the falls. It's on a fairly long stalk. I think there's some interesting toadstools in here. Some of these, as you'll see in a second, look like turds. And maybe there's spore carriers of some sort. They have holes in them. I can translate this when I get home, but I think what it means is the torrent duck, which habitats these waters, is capable of swimming underwater, my guess is. I've been following a trail upriver in the hopes that there actually was a falls, but I think the catarata or cataracts is what I think of as a cataract, and that's just descending rapids, and I think that's what this must be, because the only prints I'm seeing up here in the mud are horse prints. I'm guessing that that fallen tree may be an original. It was here before the prisoners. It's possible even that these are. I don't know how long it takes for these trees to grow. This is a different and pretty one. Almost looks like coral. It does look like coral. This, I think, is the end of the trail. If not, it's the end of my trail. The trail goes farther, but I don't care to hop down there on the off chance that there really isn't a falls up there. It's a pretty river. Nice to hike alongside of. The sign said it would take about 10 minutes to get up here. Given my normal speed, that would be, just say 20. and I'm already up to a half hour, so I'm thinking that this is it. I'm working my way back downriver and shooting whatever seems to be interesting. It's a lovely little stream and probably lovely to camp next to. Hear that water over the rocks all night long. We're in a park, but I don't think these are wild horses because it seems pretty clear that I'm looking at shoed horses. And they're in really great condition now. And it's interesting, they can be lying down and they'll look at you just with the same mild curiosity that dogs and cats have. I'm gonna hike this. It's Senda Pampa Alta, which means Trail Pampa Alta. High Pampas, I think, or High Mesa or something. Difficult media duration to the Pampa Alta, which they don't bother to show on the map, I don't think, is 40 minutes, and to route number 3 is 1 hour and 10 minutes. When I look back for a good half of this trail to the road, I should be looking generally at that mountain, although there are a couple zigzags. And it should take me, according to this, 1 hour and 10 minutes. And so add another half hour, it's 1 hour and a half, and the time now is 1:12, 1:15, so add 1 hour and a half, add 1 hour and 3/4, and that would be 3 o'clock is when I should hit the road. Then I have to walk from the road to the bus stop. Now, according to the bus schedule, they leave every hour, I think from now on, until the last one at 7 o'clock. So, in theory, that should be 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock that I make. The woods are silent, dark, and deep, and I have many more miles to go before I sleep. I think one of my most favorite experiences is walking through the woods with no one around, silent. Don't know if this is a different one or simply an inverted version of the one I saw, but it has a very suspicious look of a Venus flytrap type of thing. Doesn't look like it, but it looks like it serves a similar function. An old corduroy bridge. Looks like a fungus. These old stumps give constant reminder of the history of the penal colony and of Ushuaia's beginnings, when wood was used, harvested by the prisoners, and then used by the prisoners to provide almost all of the needs that wood could provide for the 638 inhabitants of Ushuaia, which mostly was comprised of prisoners. This is some kind of, I assume, parasitic growth that plagues some of the trees. Whether it kills them or not, I don't know. Maybe these dead branches answer that question. But for that tree, it's like having a lot of ugly warts. And evidence that fire has ripped through here in the past. I'd like to see the woodpecker that made these holes. It may be that giant one they still have down here that we recently rediscovered in the United States, one of the two. I think it's the ivory-billed pileated woodpecker or something like that. Unusual, but nice to get this kind of information. That's the mountain I should be walking away from until it's to my left. A little more greenery up here on the ground. Maybe it's the fact that it's facing to the sun, although the other areas that I've been through also have. So a little bit closer look at these tree growths. I think that may be our blue ones just emerging. Now I wonder if this isn't first growth. I don't think I see any stumps. So I'm now at Pampa Alta, and the time now is 2:05. So it took me 55 minutes, should take me they said 40 minutes, so this is the mountain that I saw off to my left when I was traveling to the falls. And the falls runs from right to left, or at least the road to in this picture. These look like raspberries, but they're not. Same bush that I was looking at before. Although the plants may be a stunted version. I'm not sure. It's interesting how the sun makes the day so much more uplifting, and the visions as well as the mental vision so much more beautiful. Even the lackluster city and certainly the lackluster waterfront takes on a little bit more interest, if for no other reason than the mountains backdropping them so closely. In case I don't think to do it, this is what the view of the glacier is without the clouds. I couldn't see this much from up there. Where I would have been just below where those four patches are on the left side.